parabolas can open 4 different ways: up, down, right, or left. You really need to start thinking about this focus point, which is the one that we can see in the picture as these dots. That's what it is wrapping around. The parabola wraps around the focus point. There's also a thing called a directrix, and it sits underneath the parabola. The parabola is always exactly in between this focus point and this directrix. So I want you to see that on all of these pictures. That is the order that everything goes in. This line called the directrix, the parabola, focus point. Here are some things that you're going to have to be able to identify when working with parabolas. The p-value is the distance from the vertex to the focus, and it's also the same distance from the vertex to the directrix. What you have to know is when the variable x is being squared and the p-value is greater than 0, which is positive, the graph is going to open up. And if your p-value is less than 0 or negative, then the parabola will open down. We've been working with quadratics, and all our quadratics have either opened up or down, and every single time we worked with a quadratic, our variable x has been squared. There's a new one, when y is squared. So if y is squared, if p is positive, it's going to open to the right, and if p is negative, it will open to the left. You must study this and really learn these directions. Here are the 2 formulas for this. These will be provided for you on a formula sheet. You're going to have to pay attention to which variable is being squared. You also need to watch out for h and k. They move places. But here's what you keep in mind. H always hangs out with x, and k always hangs out with y. When we look to find our vertex, we're going to have to bring the numbers out and change their signs. Take the time to copy down these steps. It may be a little bit confusing to read through these or to copy them down and try to understand them on your own. I understand that. However, after we work the examples in today's lesson, I think you will have a better understanding of what the directions are trying to tell you. On graph 1, the first thing we need to do is find the p-value. So what you do is look in the denominator, and I see a 12, and it's a positive 12. We're going to divide this number by 4. So our p-value is 3. The next thing we need to do is decide which way the graph is going to open. So you look for the squared variable. X squared and p-value positive means the graph is going to open up. Next thing we need is our vertex. It's HK. H is next to the X, K is next to the Y. When you bring these numbers out, we change our signs. Now plot this on your graph paper. Now it's time to go back and visualize the way the graph is opening. So I have to think the graph opens up. So now we're going to use the p-value. In front of the vertex, we're going to go above and below that p-value. So we go up 3, and that's our focus. The parabola is going to bend around the focus. And we're going to go 3 below, and that gives us what's called the directrix. The parabola will never cross your directrix. The last thing we need is the focal width. So 4 times the p-value, and since it's a distance, you would always take the absolute value of it. So 4 times 3 gives us 12. The focal width, so all the way across, it opens up 12. But from here, I really just need to go 6 to the left and 6 to the right. For your focal width, you're always going to go parallel to your directrix. Now it's time to play connect the dots to draw your parabola. This parabola should be wider than what you're used to drawing when we did quadratics. Let's look at graph 2. The first thing we need to do is find the p-value. We look in the denominator and I see an 8, so we're going to divide that by 4. Now we need to start thinking about what direction the graph opens. So I look for my squared variable. Y is being squared, my p-value is positive. So that tells me that the graph opens to the right. Next thing I need to do is find my vertex. That's HK. H hangs out next to X. K hangs out next to Y. When I bring the numbers out, I change their signs. Plot that number on your graph. Now it's time for you again to visualize this parabola wrapping around the focus. So we know it opens to the right, so I'm going to kind of sketch a phantom parabola here. So the next thing I need to do is find my focus, the point that it wraps around. So I'm going to go to my vertex and go 2 to the right. So 1, 2, there it is. Now I'm going to go back to the vertex and go 2 in the other direction, 1, 2, and it makes a vertical line. That's called your directrix. Now for your focal width. So 4 times p and then take the absolute value. So 4 times p, take the absolute value, that gives us 8. That means that all the way across this graph is 8. So I'm going to go to my focus and go 4 above, and then go back to the focus and go 4 below. Now play connect the dots to draw the parabola. Alright, look at our value here. I have a negative 1/12. So negative 12, I'm going to divide this denominator by 4, and there's a negative here, so that's going to give us a negative 3. We have a squared on the x, and we have a negative 3, so the graph is going to open downward. H and K are normally found next to the y and next to the x. And I don't see any numbers next to those. So when there's no numbers, that means that your vertex is at 0, 0. Alright, time to visualize. So we're at the vertex. I know the graph opens down, so I'm going to kind of trace opening down. Keeping in mind that your focus point wraps around the parabola. So I need to find the focus point. So I'm going to use my p-value, go back here, and go down 3. That gives us the focus. And then go back and go 3 above. And this is going to be horizontal. Now it's time for the focal width. It's the absolute value of 4 times p. So go to your focus for your focal width, and it's 12 all the way across. So we're going to go 6 to the left and 6 to the right. Now play connect the dots. We need to find the p-value. It's a negative 16 in the denominator, so we're going to divide that by 4. Our squared term is a y. We have a negative p-value, so the graph is going to open to the left. HK. H is next to the x, K is next to the y. Change their signs, and then graph. It's time to visualize. It's going to open to the left. So I need to find the focus, which is the point that this parabola wraps around. So I'm going to go back to my vertex and go 4 to the left. The directrix is on the other side, so I'm going to go 4 to the right. Now it's time for us to find the focal width. So that's the absolute value of 4 times p. So back to your focus, and it's 16 all the way across, so you go 8 above and 8 below. Now play connect the dots. Now parabolas are actually used in other locations. You might think of a satellite dish. This property is often used in communications technology. Some of you might have watched a few sporting events and seen this type of object on the sidelines. This person walks a directrix when they hold this parabola-shaped object. It's called a parabolic microphone. They are capturing the sounds on the field. What is the length of the feed horn? So you need to ask yourself, what are they looking for? They want to know, where's the focus?